very useful, in my opinion, and very interesting. It's not the main topic in the Mahamudra, but it's quite useful to know a little bit. And one of the presentations within the science of mind is called Mind and Mental Factors. I know some of you have studied this, but probably most of you haven't. So I'd just like to say a little bit about that, just to help understand what is going on with the mind. So in this presentation, there are what we call main minds. Main minds. And generally we say there are 6 of them, one for each sense. So there's a visual mind, main mind, a hearing main mind, a nose smelling main mind, a tasting main mind, a touching main mind, and then there's a mental main mind. And the main mind is like the basic function of just being aware, being clear and aware. It's like the mirror without the reflections. The mirror without the reflections is simply glass with some silver behind, and it's neutral. So the main minds are like that. And then the mental factors are the different functions which do the tasks of the mind. And this includes our attitudes, or our emotions, for example. So a mental factor would be anger, or a positive mental factor would be compassion. So when the mind joins with the mental factor, when the main mind is joined with the mental factor, they work completely simultaneously together. They're not separate, actually. It's just a way of understanding what is happening. It's quite useful. And there are some mental factors which are always present every moment. These are doing the job of the mind. For example, there is the mental factor of intention. Every moment the mind intends. It has makes some effort towards its object. And then another one is called attention, which means that the mind pays attention to its object. And then there's the mental factor called feeling, which is very interesting, very important. It's the mind the mental factor which experiences pleasure or displeasure, or equally, some of them are neutral. They're not pleasure or displeasure. And this is called the mental factor of feeling. And every moment there is a mental factor of feeling. Quite interesting. And then there's the mental factor of discrimination. Discrimination knows one thing as opposed to another. And every moment of mind or awareness, there is a discrimination. For instance, with the visual consciousness, there's a discrimination between the blue-green carpet and the orange carpet. It doesn't depend only on words, but it does include the use of language. Every moment there's a discrimination which knows the object compared to other objects. Okay? So these mental factors, there can be several of them operating at the same time. It's not that's only one. But there will be only one main mind. So you might think, but I can see things and hear things at the same time. Actually, according to the theory or the science of mind of Buddhism, there's each moment is so short that we're swiftly alternating between hearing and seeing, or thinking. And all these things are going very fast, like in a computer actually. Very fast processes are happening in the mind. So this is, we could say this is theory, but it's also useful to have some sort of understanding about some of the processes of the mind. And especially when we come to meditation, and in particular this topic of Mahamudra, if you know generally how the mind operates, it's easier to enter the meditation on the clear nature of the mind, which is what we're going to be doing most of today. And you're not going to be surprised when a mental factor comes up. For example, a pain in some part of your body, and it shouts at you and tells you to do something, and maybe you have a mental factor of anger, for example. And you'll discover that you can change the mental factor. You don't have to respond with anger to a pain. You can transform it to compassion by thinking of everybody else who has similar pains. And immediately your emphasis on your own pain gets less. It doesn't completely disappear, but it gets less. So because of understanding main minds, mental factors and their relationship, you are able to practice and transform the way you use your mind. It's a kind of personal brainwashing actually. It's like you're training yourself to think and feel in a way which you choose. So you wouldn't do that unless you were really committed. So, it is also important to understand why certain minds are not helpful, like anger, or jealousy, or pride, to see how they're actually a source of suffering. And to see how other minds, mental factors let's say, are very useful. Love, compassion, patience, generosity, they're very helpful. So for that reason, with that motive, we want to develop some and maybe let go of others. But you have to decide. It's no good just, you don't do that just because Buddha said. You do it because you make a decision. That's how I want to go. And then you can transform. Would anybody like to ask any questions about what I just said? Yes, please.
I will say something. I'm so sure that anger is so bad.
Oh, okay.
Why
Okay.
should you use anger?
Okay. So, according to Buddhism, anger is the wish to hurt or destroy the other. And so I'm talking about anger in that context. However, there are situations where the energy of responding to something which is wrong, something like an injustice, or somebody else doing something harmful, it comes up a little bit like anger, but it's used actually as compassion. Even if you go on a demonstration, quite strongly shouting this, if you are driven by wanting what is best for all, that's compassion. But it uses an energy which is like anger. But anger is the wish to destroy the other. I think we can recognize that that's harmful. Not just to the other, but also to us. It kind of, it disturbs us, actually. It disturbs us in a way that is not helpful. So please think about it. I'm using the term anger in the Buddhist sense. Maybe hatred is easier. Nobody thinks hatred is good. But I agree that the term anger can be used sometimes in a positive way. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So another point from the science of mind is the distinction or the comparison of conceptual mind and non-conceptual mind. This is also very helpful for this practice that we're doing this couple of days. Conceptual mind and non-conceptual mind. So for this it's useful to know what is a concept. What is a concept? So another word is an idea. A thought about something. A concept. Also, sometimes it's a bit like a picture or an image, as opposed to the thing itself. A concept is not direct. Especially we use a lot of concepts when we're thinking about something. So the concepts are the tools of thinking about things. And most of us use them a lot. And sometimes they really screw us up, actually, because we overdo it. Too much conceptual thought can make us feel stressed, anxious, disturbed even. It can actually have an effect on the energy in your body, and you can have a disturbance, which in Tibetan they call lung. Lung is a wind energy dysfunction, and it can actually give you a lot of pain. Especially for somebody who practices a lot of meditation. Sometimes you just need to let go of the conceptual thinking and just what we call space out. Just go and lie in a hot bath and don't think about anything. Sometimes it's really good for you, isn't it? Just space out, chill out. So, but in general, I'm not saying concepts are bad. Concepts are very useful.
I think when we identify with the concept and it becomes the truth, then we are very narrowed and our suffering increases.
It can be like that. If the concept becomes the truth, that's going too far. But some concepts are true.
Yeah.
So, it's not that concepts are always wrong. In fact, many concepts are correct. Because, for instance, if we have a concept that this is Neve Shalom, we are in Neve Shalom, it's a concept, but it's true. But believing it's the truth, as you say, that is too much. Because actually it's just a name. It's a name which was given to a place. And it's only one of its names. It's also called Wahat al-Salam. It's got two names. Or in English, Oasis of Peace. So it goes on. So names are relative. And when we think that they're true, as you said, then we can fall into danger. Yeah.
So what is the difference between assumption and conceptual?
Okay. Assumption is believing something without knowing the reason. And sometimes assumptions are correct, and sometimes they're not. But even a correct assumption is much weaker than a valid knowledge of something, of course.
So conceptual is a valid knowledge of something?
No, not necessarily. Some assumptions are also concepts. They're only a subset of concepts. There are concepts which are not assumptions, but are true. For example, I'm not assuming that your name is Sarah. I know that your name is Sarah. But it is a concept, and it's true. It's not an assumption, it's true. Okay? It's relatively true because it's just a name. It's not absolutely inside there is something which is sorrow, but nevertheless it's true. Mm-hmm.
You're saying being in Neve Shalom, we are in Neve Shalom.
Yes.
Is that a concept?
Yes. It's a correct concept. You think that Neve Shalom really exists
No.
here? Because actually there's a place made up of streets and houses and so forth, and which we name Neve Shalom. And every name is a concept.
So Neve Shalom is like the basis of attribution.
No, it's not a basis, it's actually the name that's given to the basis. The basis is the houses and the streets and everything that exists within the boundary of what is called Neve Shalom. The basis is what is named. The name is the name, the concept. It's okay? It's true that we're in Neve Shalom. I'm not saying concepts of this concept is true. It's relatively true. Just because something's a concept doesn't mean it's false. The problem is taking it to exist from its own side. That is the problem. And that is the false concept of inherent existence, independent existence, existing by itself. Actually, nothing exists from its own side, at all. Neither Neve Shalom, nor Shuki, nor Andy, nothing exists from its own side. But relatively it's true that that is Shuki and this is Andy. It is relatively false that that is Andy and this is Shuki.
So anything could be a concept.
No. I haven't spoken about non-conceptual yet. Give me a chance and I'll tell you about non-conceptual experience, because that's very important to what we're doing here. Not everything is a concept. Shall I go on? Okay. So there's one kind of knowledge which is conceptual knowledge, and there's another kind of knowledge or experience or knowing, awareness, which is non-conceptual awareness. And this is called also direct perception. Direct perception, that's a very useful term. Direct perception. Direct perception knows its object without any doubt, instantly. It knows it. Okay? So, for instance, when you look at something, look at anything in this room, when you see it, the first moment is direct perception. It's experiential. Right after, you might give it a name. Or you might even have a concept that it's orange. That's a concept. But when you first experience it, it's before that.
It's what the kids, the newborns are having.
It's what it is at a certain level. I'm not going to say it's what it is. I'm not going to say it's what it is. Because whatever, no, not just because of that. Whatever appears to us appears to exist from its own side. And that is false. The only thing that exists the way it appears is emptiness. Because that is the reality of all these appearances. The reality is emptiness. What does emptiness mean? It means not existing from its own side. It does exist. Anti exists, but not from its own side. It exists by imputation from your mind. You just look at this thing here and say, Andy. It's a label that your mind gives.
When I see you, my mind says Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Andy is a concept.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
other than emptiness,
Over here, there's nothing. That's right. That's right.
anything
Yeah, that's right.
My mind is
That is
very
right.
quickly imputes something, a name, a label.
Yeah, but before the name, there is a direct perception. And the direct perception is simply seeing something, or when you listen, hearing something, or smelling, tasting, touching. And before you give the concept, there is a direct perception. Now, the important point here, I don't want to go on forever. This is not a philosophy class, this is a retreat on Mahamudra. But the important point is that in meditation, we are trying to arrive at a direct perception of emptiness. But there is no way that our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch can experience emptiness at the moment, because they are contaminated because of samsara. Even our mind, our ordinary mind, can't experience emptiness. But just a minute, I'm just going to finish and then I'll come to you. The first thing we can do is get a correct conceptual understanding of emptiness, which I think many people here have already. You've done the reasoning, you know that because things depend on other things, they don't exist by themselves, therefore they're empty. I think many of you already know that. I can't say everybody, but generally you know that. That's a correct conceptual understanding of emptiness. But to experience that is another matter altogether. That requires meditation. But before the meditation there needs to be a lot of work, which we call reflection, where we really analyse everything that we see or experience as we go about our life. We check, is it empty? Is it empty? And then we think of something, we think, oh, that's not empty. And then we have to analyse it and deconstruct it until we're very sure that emptiness is the nature of everything. It's called the one taste of everything. Then it's still a concept. It's still a concept. So what we need is a method to arrive at the direct perception of emptiness, the direct, non-conceptual perception of emptiness. And that method is Mahamudra. Okay.
We're using our mind to try to understand or obtain some kind of grasp of emptiness, and this mind or consciousness has been around forever and will be around forever. But is the consciousness itself empty?
Absolutely, and that is the Mahamudra. This particular method is looking at the emptiness of the mind, and that is what we're going to be doing. Not so much today, more tomorrow, but that is the objective of this retreat, is to discover and learn to meditate on the emptiness of the mind. And that is that's the powerful one. That's the powerful one. If you can get that, then the emptiness of everything else is not a problem. Yeah?
So basically, what we are looking for is to connect with that mind which appears the moment before we conceptualize.
I'm not going to say that, no. I'm not going to say that. When we're working on the Mahamudra, it's not like that actually. It's true in general that direct perception precedes the conceptual labelling of everything that we experience in general, especially with the senses. But here we're working internally with the mental consciousness, and there we're using concepts to arrive at non-conceptual. So it's the other way around actually. It's kind of going backwards, but it's going forwards. And the direct perception of emptiness has got a special name in the science of mind, which is very nice. It's called yogic direct perception. So it's the direct perception of a yogi. And we all have to understand we are yogis when we're doing this practice. A yogi is someone who discovers reality through inner practice. Through inner practice. And actually, in the Dharma, we need to be a yogi. Not just living on the outside, but working through our inner practice to find the truth, to find reality. And then from that, all the outer life, it follows. It's kind of simple in some ways. It's not problematic. But if we can't connect with the truth internally, then we continue to be confused, disturbed, and to suffer. Okay. I've gone past the time I intended to stop this, and it's time to do the meditation. And so from now on, we're actually going on a voyage. It's like you're in a little boat by the shore of the lake or the sea, and now you're going to push out onto the water. Good luck.